This guy right here is one of the best investments any player can have in this game called War of the Visions. And I'm going to explain why. Now, before I get into why Mont Leonis is one of the best investments for this game for any player, let's just run through his kit real quick just to see what makes Mont Leonis Mont. He's an Earth type unit that costs 50. His main job is Lord. When upgraded to EX, he becomes High Lord. Pretty much Lord class is your beginner class of this game. So think Squire of Final Fantasy Tactics, from Final Fantasy Tactics. And it's pretty much a class that just excels at a lot of things, but isn't a master of those things. But it's great for beginners to try to get into the hang of what the game's about and how units can work. So he's very versatile in what he can do. His sub-jobs are Paladin and Knight. When we go to his stats, we can see that he's pretty good at physical defense. He has positive in slash, pierce, and strike. He's sort of weak in missile, and he's very weak in magic. So you don't want to have him facing too many magic units. So keep that in mind. When looking over his master ability, Mont Leonis recently gained an upgrade to his master ability that allows him to be an even better unit than when he was at launch. So let's just go over his ability real quick because it's a lot. Earth units, allies, max HP plus 10%, disable resistance plus 25, own defense plus 15, own jump plus 1, own pierce attack resistance plus 25, and own initial hate plus 5. That's a lot, so I'm going to break it down to you a little by little. So the elemental buff with the earth units getting more HP, that's great. That means if you want to put him in a mono earth team, he's going to contribute that way by providing more HP. And with the disable resistance, that's not tied to earth units as far as I'm aware. Based on how this is written, that should apply to any units that he teams up with. And disable can hinder you in battle, so having more resistance to that is a plus. Now, him getting more defense innately means that he becomes a great tank, because remember, one of his sub-jobs is Paladin, so he can become a tank. And giving him plus 1 in jump helps with his mobility. On top of that, the plus 5 in hate, which is one of the brand new things they gave him in this for his upgrade, will allow him to generate hate right off the bat as soon as the battle starts. So a lot of the enemies will go to him while your teammates do what they have to do. And if he needs to do more hate generation, he has that in his kit. Now, Mont Leonis is unique MR in that he's the only MR unit that has a limit break. Maybe down the road this is going to change, but for now, Mont Leonis is the only one. And plus, you get him for free. So that's pretty cool. However, the limit break itself, although it looks cool, is alright. It deals large damage to targets within range. So for 49 AP, you're going to be doing good damage. And if you turn him into a bruiser, it might be something you want to turn on. But I can tell you right off the bat, it's not recommended. I wouldn't power it up. When looking at his support abilities, he has access to a lot of good ones. HP up for more HP, Holy Knight's protection for more HP and defense. He has access to his unique one, Crown Prince of Leonis, which raises his attack. So if you want to make him a bruiser, then you want this on. And then he has Divine Protection, which helps against debuffs. This is good if you're in a map that the enemies like to debuff you a lot, this will help out with that. But it's probably the least support ability you're gonna use. If you're going for a tanking kind of build for Mont, you want these two support abilities on. His reaction abilities, he has access to Paladin's Guard, which helps reduce physical attacks. Then he has Sword Guard, which is the same as Paladin Guard, but it reduces any damage, not just physical. And I believe that has a slightly lower proc rate, but that's because it's for any damage. As opposed to Paladin Guard, it has a slightly higher proc rate, but it's only for physical damage. Something to keep in mind. His other support ability, reaction ability, is Counterblade. It's nice for raids and easy content if you just want to down the enemy real quick. Again, for tanking purposes, Paladin's Guard. As a High Lord, as I mentioned before, he has a wide range of abilities that help him in all kinds of situations. For example, Beast Breaker is great for against beast type units. Body Slam that can help in tactical advantages in moving the enemy back one space. Discipline to raise his own attack power. With his ES upgrades, his Stone Mastery now has the ability to apply defense piercing rate and deals guaranteed damage, as well as lowers movement by 1 for 3 turns. His Killer Drain Blade now will absorb damage dealt, so no matter how much damage Mont will do, he'll gain it back. Breakdown will lower the attack power and magic of the unit for 3 turns while dealing medium damage. As a paladin, he gains access to a variety of defensive type moves to help him tank enemy hits better. Sentinel will raise his defense and spirit for 1 turn but lowers his evasion. Taunting Blade will help keep up the hate so that more enemies will target him. And moves like Immoral Spirit and Divine Grace will help keep him alive. Mont can also be a breaker with his Knight class, with moves such as Spree Break to lower the enemy's agility, Power Break to lower their attack, and On Break for a chance to disable the enemy. He becomes an effective breaker for any beginner to utilize on their team. Now heading over to the gear. Mont, you can gear him as a tank. He's very effective as a tank. Or you could gear him as a bruiser in the sense that he could do some damage and still take some hits. I prefer gearing him as a tank because he just offers more in that regard. But if you want to do a bruiser build, here's some suggestions that you can utilize. Keep in mind there's a lot of gear out there, and gear itself is 80% limited in this game, but it's also something that comes back around. So if you miss it the first time, you just probably have to wait a little bit before it returns. And some of these are also Trustmaster rewards, so I'll do my best to try to stay away from limited stuff, but it's not going to be easy. So first up, we have the Earth Ring. This came in the Tower event. If you missed the last Tower event, that's fine. It's going to return every time the Tower event comes back. But what's great about this ring is that it could work for both a bruiser type Mont build or tank Mont build. It offers lightning attack resistance as well as earth attack resistance. So you're going to get even more bulk from facing lightning units. And if you face in a mirror match or something, you got some earth resistance as well. The only downside to this ring is that you have no spirit, and it offers spirit down. But keep in mind that spirit down debuff in JP was removed, so most likely Global will get that removal down the road. So you just have the six defense but no spirit, which it's still a Henderson, but not as much as an additional -10. Because Mont can already not take hits from magic attacks. We don't need him to be weak more to it. Then this other limited item, this is Cecil's sword. This came from Final Fantasy IV's Trial of Reckoning. If you don't have this sword, there's another sword I'm going to recommend. But this sword I like for both builds because in the tank build, he has Taunting Blade, which does cost a lot of AP. And this is going to help reduce that cost. On top of that, it offers additional attack power and slash attack up. So it works great for dealing damage while also being able to do Taunting Blade at turn 2, at the very least. If you pull Zazan and for some reason you're not using Zazan's Trustmaster reward on himself, then his Trustmaster reward can work for Mont, mainly because of the ability. It raises own Earth attack and Earth resistance piercing rate for 3 turns. This is kind of the Earth attack that's common, but the Earth resistance piercing rate, that's kind of rare to see in this game at this time. I'm pretty sure down the road there's going to be more items that do something like this. So if you're facing wind units that have a lot of Earth resistance, this actually will help you deal a little bit more damage towards them, or any unit that has some Earth resistance. You're pretty much are going to pierce some of that Earth resistance away and do more damage. Plus, it has decent HP and defense to it. The Vade won't work too well for Mont, but this is an option. If you have King Mont and got his Trustmaster reward, regular Mont can use it as well with the nice HP, both defense and spirit. Plus, this is an accessory, so you could equip this and equip an armor with high HP, and his HP stacks is gonna go up. What I also like about this is it offers area attack resistance up to all allies around himself, and it has a decent TP cost. So you could do this could be done first turn, and then second turn you're gonna get your Taunting Blade off, especially if you're holding on to the Cecil's sword. So I've tested it out. It's not a bad option. This sword, Guiding Blade, trying to figure out I forgot whose Trustmaster this is. Let me see if this gives a hint. Noctis. Okay, yeah, this is Noctis' Trustmaster sword, and you won't see this too often, but this will help if you're more on the beginner side or younger account, because not only does it offer some good attack and HP and accuracy, you have the opportunity to immobilize the opponent. Now, normally you don't want to have Mont at too much high faith, because he's already weak to magic as it is. However, if the enemies are weak to immobilization, then you have a better chance at granting this on normal attacks. And the whole purpose of a tank is to prevent the enemy from going to your other units to attack them. And this sword just helps out even further. Again, I recommend this more for younger accounts. When you get more swords together and get other gear, you're less likely to use this sword unless it's a special occasion. But it's an option. Then we have Selma's Trustmaster reward, which is also a sword. It offers slash attack resistance up, which is not common on a weapon. Is usually you have that on armor and stuff. And if you're not wearing armor with slash attack resistance, then you could slap this sword in your Trustmaster slot, and then you have some more slash resistance. If you have Glacia and got her Trustmaster reward, this is a nice fit for Mont. It's an armor piece that, with the ability that gives AP and slash resistance for 3 turns. So you're gonna recover 20 AP when you max this out, and then on top of that, you're gonna get an additional slash resistance for 3 turns, which is gonna help you out with your tanking abilities. And again, nice, decent HP, decent defense stats. So it's a nice option for Mont. And then next we have Dario's Trustmaster. So if you was never around for the Final Fantasy IV Trial of Reckoning for Cecil's Sword, then this is a nice permanent option that's in the game no matter how long you've been playing. That can be good for Mont. Now, it doesn't offer him much attack power like the other sword does. However, if the purpose is for Mont to tank, then you can still have him use the sword, because this sword is also going to allow you to do your Taunting Blade on turn 2. Again, Taunting Blade is a high cost ability, and you want to throw that out as soon as possible. Turn 1, turn 2, the most. If you wait any longer, you're most likely going to lose the match or the quest that you're in. So just keep that in mind. And then finally, we have his own Trustmaster reward. It's a nice, decent shield that's also an accessory with decent HP, defense, and spirit. But what's great about this is that it gives agilities to himself and allies, and it's stackable. So if he's able to cast this twice, the agility is gonna stack for 3 turns. And this was a very nice Trustmaster reward that I used when I first started playing for Mont, because Mont can be a little bit slow, and this just helps with not only himself but his teammates to move on up. Nowadays, I don't use it too much, but again, if you're a younger account, you're gonna want to have this on him just for that agility boost. Now to Espers. I like to play Mont as a bulky tank as much as possible. So some of these Espers I'm going to recommend are more for a tanky Mont, but there's going to be a few for a bruiser type Mont if you want to go that route. Phoenix is the first one because he has decent strike resistance. This is great for him to hold because Phoenix provides some strike resistance as well as defense up, which benefits Mont. On top of that, some HP and some other stuff that you might want. Although this Esper is more tailored towards his UR version, you can still kind of play around with this and have regular Mont uses as well. Instead of having some fire attack up, you might want to have critical evasion up, which lowers his chances of getting crit. Pretty much. You can ignore these nodes that are best for fire units and still have him where to be a tank. The next Esper is a limited time one. Oh, Phoenix is permanent. You just have to pull the card. But Death Machine here is a limited time Esper. He came during the Final Fantasy 1 event. So whenever that event rolls around, you're expected to see him. And he's pretty similar to Phoenix, but instead of strike resistance, you have missile resistance to build upon on. And as we saw, Mont has some weakness to missile, so this is going to turn that negative into positive. You still have your defense up, and then he has access to slash attack up, so this is great for like a bruiser build. And you do have some fire resistance just in case you run into too much fire. On top of that, some critical evasion as well, and a little bit of accuracy, which doesn't hurt. Next expert is Fenrir, who's a permanent one, so you can get him when you get his card. I like Fenrir because Mont does have a weakness to magic, and if I do have to face against magic, then Fenrir is my choice. Fenrir has some magic resistance up, but also has nodes for slash attack up, which is great for Mont. And if I face any wind units, which I don't want to face wind units, but if I do, I have access to Wind Eater, which will help me tip the scales a little bit in my favor. Not too much, but it will help. Next one's Odin, and I talk about Odin all the time as an Esper, but one thing that Odin has that I haven't really talked about too much is that he has both missile and slash resistance. So you can turn Odin into kind of a unit for tanks if you want to. On top of that, you have the accuracy nodes. You have Man-Eater, slash attack up. He's a good Esper all around for almost any physical unit. So if you do ever get him, he's permanent, by the way. I suggest you level him up. He takes a lot of magicite still, just so you know. And then finally, we have Golem, which is probably the best Esper for Mont to have. So if you have Golem, then I highly suggest raise Golem first for Mont, because Golem, just like Phoenix and Death Machine, also has defense up, but his thing is he has pierce resistance instead of strike resistance or missile resistance. But on top of that, Mont can also benefit from the Man-Eater that he offers, the critical evasion, the earth attack up, Wind Eater. Mont benefits from this Esper the most out of any other Esper I mentioned, except for Odin, because Odin is just that good. But if you don't have Odin, but you do have Golem, then this is a great option to have. Now onto vision cards, and just like with his gear, you want to focus more on tanking Mont, making him survive better. However, there are some cards that will work great for him as a bruiser as well. Now, I'm not going to mention all the cards that I recommend, because he could use a lot of different cards. These are more of like my top picks. And just like with Espers, if something's limited, I'll let you know. But I think for the most part, I try to pick out ones that are in the general pool. But first, we have the Solitary Lion. This one's great for if you want to make Mont a bruiser type, because it raises his earth attack and accuracy by a lot, and also offers him slash attack resistance piercing rate up by a lot, by 35. He has no slash attack resistance piercing rate in his kit. That's a mouthful, by the way. So this is kind of essential if you're trying to make him into a bruiser. On top of that, the bestowed ability for earth units, any earth could use this honestly, will offer more slash attack up, defense up, and critical evasion down. So he might take critical hits a little bit more, but it's a nice trade-off to everything else he's getting. On top of that, if he's holding this card, he'll get an additional 20% more HP, and just for if you give this to Zondon will get some benefits out of it. But we're focused on Mont today. The next card is Dreams of Heroism, and I do love the artwork of this card, by the way, because this is a Camilo card technically, but it's tailored towards Earth units in a way. But this is a nice one for a Mont that wants to tank to hold, as it offers air attack resistance, more HP, and more TP skills for Earth units as a party ability. And all this is great for tanking Mont. Minus the TP up. He doesn't have a lot. He doesn't use a lot of TP skills that you're gonna say, "Oh, I'm running out of TP." So this might not benefit him too much, but the other two will. If he's holding his card as an Earth unit, he gets more slash resistance and more HP. 5% versus the other one 20%, but you are getting the attack resistance. And because he's Mont, he also could get some magic attack resistance and agility, both which he lacks in his kit, so that this kind of helps out. And if you have Camilo in the party, you can have Camilo hold this card and Mont hold the other card I mentioned, and that's really gonna make Mont into a bruiser type if you want. Camilo will benefit less from all this, but if you're trying to focus on giving more stats to Mont, that's an option. Now, I mentioned before that Golem's probably the best Esper for Mont, and if you're a young account, a beginner, you're gonna have his card too, because that's how you get Espers in this game. You pull their card, then the Esper comes with it. And there is nothing wrong with leveling this card up. It offers HP up 25% for the whole party, no matter what element. And for the Earth units, they get more lightning resistance by 20. So it pretty much makes Mont more bulky. This is fine for younger accounts. As you get more cards, you might use this a little bit less depending on the content, but it's there. This with the Earth Ring would really make Mont bulky. So this is something to keep in mind. Now we're gonna move to some MR cards. I'm not gonna talk about too much, just two in particular. We have Beloved's Psychic Chocobo here. This gives party agility up 10%, and as a bestowed ability, it gets defense up 10. So if you're a beginner or younger account and you have this card but not block the rules of the battlefield, then have Mont hold this. Mont could benefit from the defense, while the whole team gets a little bit more agility. And the difference between this card and the Black Rose card is a 5% agility. Now that's a big deal in the long run, but when you're starting out, this is just fine. This is so something to consider until you get that card. And if you get that card, don't put it on Mont. Put it on like a magic user. This one's more balanced with the stats. And then the final card is Vow of Love. Now that Mont has his Master 2 ability, which gives him Hate 5 at the start of battle, this card is less likely to be used. However, until you get that Master ability, you might want to consider this card for Mont to hold. This card offers attack up for the party, 30%. Any lightning units in your team will get some critical evasion as well. And if Mont's holding this card, he'll get his slash attack up by 20 and hate up by 5. And before the Master 2 ability started rolling out, this was one of the cards every newer player or younger account will want to have level up if they wanted to tank in some harder content, or at least up to when their tank could start throwing out taunting blades and stuff like that. So this is just something to consider. And you can still use this card even after you get the Master 2 ability, because I'm pretty sure this hate up and his Master ability hate up do stack. Something I have to test out, but I'm pretty sure they stack. But overall, it's an option. I used this a lot when I was starting out with this game. Not so much nowadays, but I do recommend it. Now we're going to get into the part where I explain my team a bit. But the reason why Mont is such a great investment is because he could fit in any team you want. You want to put him in a Mono Earth team? Go right ahead. His ability, thanks to his Master 2 upgrade, allows him to provide more HP for other Earth allies. You want him to tank? Could put him on any team because tanks are flexible like that. So he fits in any rainbow team. You want him to throw rocks? Team him up with missile attackers because then that helps build up chains. Mont's very, very versatile, and that's why he's one of the best investments for any player to have, and he works in any mode. And I am glad that this game continues to upgrade launch units because it makes their usability last longer, and it makes that investment feel much more greater. But enough about that. The team here is a special team. This is a rainbow team I came up with, and it has a theme to it. These are all launch units. Gilgamesh is the launch cost 100 unit on the non-limited side. Thancred also came during launch, but he was limited. And Ayaka here is the launch healer. That back then she was a big deal. She kind of fell off grace nowadays, but she's still good. She's not bad in any means. She's just overshadowed by other units. But pretty much here, Gilgamesh is the main attacker, so he's going to be going in, powering up himself and Mont, thanks to King Rob's Trustmaster ability. And on top of that, his own 120 skill to, just in case if I'm facing magic units, he could help protect both himself and Mont with that. And then he provides damage with Contestu plus. It helps lower slash attack resistance onto targets, and if they have re-raise, it removes it. Because him and Mont are slashers, it just works perfectly. And I gave him Odin for Mad-Eater slash, and he's holding Laswell's Frostflower Flash card because it's gonna help himself with more agility, more AP up generation, so he doesn't have to rely on bells more, and it stacks with Odin for the Mad-Eater. And then he's gonna just get even more attack power. And I stacked that attack power up thanks to his support ability. He has auto float because this map, the way Mont and Gilgamesh start, I want Gilgamesh to power up both himself and Mont, and if I don't have this on, he can't reach Mont. So something to keep in mind. Mont here on this map is going to be our tank. So he's going to be tanking. As you can see, he's not tanking any magic with that -4 spare. But if I do run into a magic unit, then I'm hoping Gilgamesh's protective ward helps with that. Because I do have at least 5% in magic. But on top, I do have 45 in slash, 20 in pierce, 25 for strike. And then I have some elemental resistance to help with those types of units. I'm just going to try to avoid wind, even though I do have Gilgamesh to help deal with that. So Mont's wearing defensive gear. The Earth Ring did come from the recent tower event. And then he's holding Glacier's Trustmaster for some AP regeneration and the slash resistance up. So I want to go after some slash units. Ayaka is going to be the healer. So this is your traditional tank healer DPS kind of build, which is great for beginners. And Ayaka is your standard healer. Her upgrades are alright in my book. And I did want to try it out to see how good they are. I do like her 120 skill because it provides an ally with defense piercing rate and gives them the ability to absorb some HP with whatever damage they dealt. Now, during my testing, this actually will stack with Mont's Killer Drain Blade. So whatever Mont's damage, whatever he does damage, he's gonna heal that damage plus more, because these two stack with each other, and you're gonna see that during the match. And then I do like how Karaga does recover some AP. Sadly, it's only 10, so it's kind of small, but it's better than nothing. And that's pretty much it. Alright, for our first battle, we're facing 3 slashers, Cloud, Mont, and Tidus. And this arena showcase is going to be all about versus Cloud, because it just ended up that way. Cloud's going to be in all 3 of the videos today. But we start off with Gilgamesh doing his protective ward both on himself and Mont. I was calling him Cloud for a minute. While Ayaka will cast her 120 skill onto Mont. Because Mont has his hate, this gives your ally units opportunity to cast stuff on him to make him even better of a unit, because that hate is really good. So now Mont's gonna come in. He's with his he has defense penetration, some healing on him. He's a little bit bulky, so he's gonna be all around doing stuff, while Gilgamesh is gonna start doing some slash moves to lower their slash resistance. Cloud's gonna come in, do some damage to both Gilgamesh and Mont, but they survive, thankfully. And now Ayaka's gonna come in to do her healing move to top them off and gives them stop resistance like it matters for this match. Enemy Mont keeps throwing rocks at us. Not much we can do about that. Gilgamesh does another Kotetsu, knocking out Tidus. And Mont's kind of out of AP right now, but since Cloud is still targeting him, that means his hate is still up, which allows Gilgamesh to do another Kotetsu and knock him out. And now it's just Mont versus Mont, pretty much. So enemy Mont throws another rock, and my Mont is out of range, so he does Sentinel. Here comes another rock. The move is really good though, I'll admit, but it seems like the player just left that on and nothing else. And then we have a Killer Drain move, another rock. I'm just laughing at all the rocks, but that ends the match for this one. Alright, so our next team is Summer Lilyth, Noctis, and Cloud. And I do like how Greg's picture just overlaps Lilyth's face. You don't even see her face. That was kind of funny. But I wanted to see how Summer Lilyth will work with Cloud, because it's kind of like Fred and Cloud. It's just now, instead of being 2 lightning units, it's an earth and lightning unit, which still can work. You're still getting that missile chain. But we have our usual startup with our team, so there's not much to say about that. But now Mont's in range for Lilyth's attack, and Lilyth's going to do armor break, which kind of I didn't have any barriers up, so it doesn't really affect me too much. And now we see here Mont did his Killer Drain Blade, and it should have healed the 3000, but it healed a bit more because it did stack up with Ayaka's ability that she bestowed onto him. And that's why I feel like Ayaka can work with any units that can heal themselves from damage, and if she could add on to that, so she's less likely to have to heal if need be. But we got Cloud and Lilyth knocked out pretty easy. It wasn't that much of a problem because Reflex did not proc. I swear, Reflex is an issue when you're facing it. When you're using it, it's awesome. But from here now, pretty much is over with. Mont was more a bruiser here, honestly. Alright, finally we have a mono lightning team with Cloud, Ibara, and 9S. Now normally I wouldn't go after a mono team if I was using a mono team myself, but because the team I'm using is more rainbow and Mott's the only DPS, I feel like it should be fair. Besides, it's Mott. Mott can take care of all three of these units, right? Maybe, we'll see. But Ibara is going to be the most scariest one because she's a magic user and Mott doesn't like dealing with magic users. Even though we do have protective war up, Mott can still take massive damage from Ibara because she does do a lot of damage, especially if she gets buffed up beforehand. And as you see here, this Cloud has barrage up, which fortunately doesn't kill my units, but unfortunately it puts Gilgamesh in a range where Ayaka's gonna heal. And we got our first reflex here with Mott doing his taunting blade, and now Ibara's moving in to do her LB, which I believe lowers lightning resistance. Yes, it does, and it does a lot of damage to Mott, a little bit over half. Now 9S is gonna come in to do his LB, and my guess is that they're doing all the LBs because that's their strongest attack on Mott. Mott luckily survives this. Gray comes in with a Katetsu and another reflex proc, which really sucks. So now Cloud comes in with his triple slash. Mott goes down, so now it's just Greg and Ayaka versus these three. Got another contestant down, knocking out both Ibara and 9S. Ayaka with the heal, with the Kurada. And now Cloud's gonna come in to go after her. Ayaka said, stop that. No more healing. But because he did that, Greg Gilgamesh tried to come in for a slash. Didn't work, but thankfully his reflex came in and did that preventive slash for the win. Take that, reflex. Alright, final thoughts for Mott. Raise him. You're a new player? Raise him. You're a veteran player? Raise him. You're a casual player? Raise him. You're a player that's only going to play for one day? Raise him. He is so easy to raise. There's no reason not to raise him. Even if blossoms are, it should just raise him. Trust me, he's a good investment. Great for beginners, and I'm telling you, down the road, even as a veteran, you're gonna find a place to use him. I'm a day one player, and I still use him in Night Request. I use him in some limited time PvP, and the fact that this game keeps providing upgrades for him, why not invest in him? He has a lot of cards that are attached to him. He has great tanking gear that, will be great for other tanks, but it works just as great as him. He's probably the best budget tank in this game. I could go on and on, but he is worth the 120. He's worth the blossoms. I mean, you could build him up without spending any vids whatsoever. I don't know how it is nowadays for new players, but back in my day, they gave a lot of shards for him, and then whatever shards were missing, you could easily get them through coins, through gold. So invest in him. He's worth it. As for his level 120 skill, it's something you want as well, because having the ability to break attack and magic helps with his tanking even further. Without that, he wouldn't be an effective tank. And even though, yes, they gave him hate on his ability, that hate will not last long without the usage of Taunting Blade. So in a way, you have to have Paladin as his sub job to make him an effective tank. If you build him as a bruiser, that's even better. But PvP wise, bruiser doesn't do so well. It might do pretty decent on a mono Earth team in limited PvP content. But when it's not limited, you have to go tank. Bruiser works for PvE content though, so I will say that. Other than that, I hope you found this video very informative. I hope this turns out to be a great anniversary month, and I hope every player that's been playing since the beginning is still enjoying the game like I am. And if you're a new player that stumbled upon this video, I hope this video was helpful, and I do hope you do raise Mont. You're not gonna regret it at all. Just trust me. When it comes to this game, they do a good job at making older units still relevant in some way. If nothing else, Mont here is going to be your ticket to get Moraga. Just saying. Enough rambling. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Laters.